Right, I need to organize a little still. And yeah, I found the missing bolt here. So that's all solved, and not everything was tied down correctly. So I'm just going over everything because we built this entire thing in barely 3 days. And yeah, we were quite tired, so obviously both of us haven't been entirely focused. I will say everything is very sturdy, everything is very well built, especially thanks to Mark. And of course, another thing that needs doing, and there's a lot of damage on the wood from the construction itself, but it would be nice to mimic this style and color. Overall, visually, also down here, this hatch and the backside is the same material, so it's all pretty similar. There are some bits that need to be fixed, painted. These sides need to be painted. Below here needs to be painted. And of course this rack is not the right color for this. But before I actually get to building the front panels and everything, it's gonna be a couple more weeks. So I'm still working on the science working over here, which is coming along nicely. I have some time to think about and work on the case of this thing. Gotta do a clean of all the machines. Clean the machines. The machines need to be cleaned. Machine cleans. Yeah, time to remove some very pretty switches and levers. I've already filled one box with all the front panel controls. These are very satisfying. Same for these. These are potentiometers and kind of potentiometer and switches in one. Some are configured as switches, such as this one, and some are configured as potentiometers. It's really interesting parts, these, and they're very, very high build quality, all of them. Now, seeing as I want to basically make a two CS80s in one, these buttons of course need to be integrated. And they are self-contained units. They have ICs, you can see the pins on there, that I think control the on-off switching and the lights inside these buttons, because these are just momentary buttons, so you need some electronics to simulate switching behavior. These are perfectly self-contained, do need new capacitors, but other than that, I can just use them, which is fantastic. And yes, I'm gonna salvage all these sliders and buttons of the keyboards too, although I do not know what I want to do with the actual keypad itself. It is a nice keypad. It also has this wiggle vibrato thing going on with a sensor back here. Can I show this? So it may be broken. There's a rubber in here, Mark told me. That may just be busted. So yeah, that might be a problem. Either way, it's a cool keypad. Okay, it's about a week later, and I'm finally getting to the point that I can start thinking about what I'm going to do with this. Let's see, I have everything in parts boxes nicely sorted. There's the two keyboards. Yeah, so got the digital cards over here. And this is actually the first time I can take a proper look at them, because we've been racing to build this thing. I haven't really had a look at this, like, at all. Oh, what's this here? No clue. Bunch of diodes? Of course I'm gonna need to sort all this out, and I have no clue what's what. So here's the very non-glamorous part of doing these kind of projects. Figuring out this spaghetti. Oh, look at that. But some of these connections are pretty ridiculous. These wires connect between two subsequent boards. Now you can see the distance between those boards, so this one and this one. So a little wire around here would have been enough, but no, they have to do it like this with a giant ass loop. And it's full of these, so I need to separate these loops, the loose ones, and everything that's still connected. It has been around 3 months since I last been able to work on this, and in the meantime I did snap all the looms, and as you can see it's a right old mess. And I decided that I'm gonna do the same thing as I did with the Elka, desolder everything. I know it's a humongous, horrible job, but I'm gonna put connectors on all of these. I have a whole bunch of big 96 pin connectors that have been laying in my cupboard for a century. These are perfect for this. So there's this bodge here, like 2 resistors in series between this point and this point. I need to see if that's in the service manual. Okay, the first board has been liberated. This is MA, the analog mixing board. As you can see, 5 billion electrolytic capacitors. Uh-oh, it is cross time. Yep, this capacitor is tired. That needs to be replaced ASAP. Yeah, it's a good thing I'm pulling these boards. But looks like the PCB has been spared as of yet. So. And here's a closer look at the offending capacitor. So as you can see, it is corroded all the way inside. So this capacitor probably is dead as a doornail. And you can kind of see there's some green inside there too. Luckily these are very simple single-sided boards, so there's not much risk when it comes to corrosion. So it is a bit of a process, because I use flux to make things a little bit faster. I don't need to clean it up afterwards. Oh, fuck. Oh, that's too much alcohol. Who uses red for ground? What? Grounds connect to chassis. They're all nice and black here, but they're red over here. This is one of the preset boards. There are 4 in total, and they all look pretty much the same. So I'm just gonna show this one. It's a very interesting way they did this. It's basically just a blank slate. So close up, as you can see, there's basically just big trays going to set intervals, connections. From what I am guessing is that every single one of these big traces is probably a parameter, if you will. And then there is all the connections from the front panel switches from the presets. So what happens, you basically have 2 sections. One that is for connections that go to -10 volt. The other are connections that go to, I believe, to ground, which is basically positive voltage compared to the rest, because Yamaha often uses a negative voltage scheme. These are all like blank spots, and all the rows will probably have been blank, and they can just fill them in with diodes or resistors to connect the different parameters, such as a filter cutoff or resonance or the attack speed and all those other things, and they can configure them either to -10 or to ground. And these transistors are all what activate the preset. So when a preset is activated, these 2 transistors, for example, all the way to the left, are both activated as well, which ties all these resistors and diodes over here to between -10 and various parameters on the horizontal line here, and the same here for ground. So you basically have a PCB that you can arrange, presets you can arrange per model. So between the E-70, the EX1, the EX2 probably. I'm gonna guess they all use the same boards because that would be typical of Yamaha. The last board that I just removed It's OPC, which is the click killer. Very empty board. There is the actual click killer. So these are not interconnected, by the way. This all the connections for the click killer are over here. And all the connections for whatever this is are over here. These are little low pass filters, little passive low pass filters. And if I turn around, you see that there are massive traces here. There is the plus 15 volt rail. I believe this is ground. Yes. Possibly here's ground. Yeah, this should be ground because this is attached to there. And interestingly, when I look at the schematic, so here we have the schematic. You'll see plus minus 15 ground. And a bunch of 4700 microfarad 16 volt capacitors. And yeah, there are none. Those would be placed on around here. I'm not really sure where the minus... Oh, the minus 15 is here. Interesting. So, I think this was meant to be part of the power supply originally. And then they changed their mind. Okay. Other than that, this board is a little bit bent. Oh boy. Luckily, there's nothing much on there to break. So I should be able to bend this back into shape without any issues. And yeah, finally, here are all the preset boards to the left. We got the drums, a whole bunch of filter boards, and all sorts of VCA and loop buffers, analog goodness, mixers. And we have an empty analog rack and a whole bunch of wires which can now be removed. I'll never have to buy anything again. Yeah, see? That is quite liberating. Very nice. Of course, I will reloom things eventually when I have made my own things, just like I did with the Oka. So do not worry, it will be neat and tidy and well organized. Get in. These 3, 2, 1, 0. This is still all entangled. Well, that's a worry for future me. What is this? A 60-liter box? That's so much. Wow, it took me all day, but I freed up all the analog boards, freed up the wiring. Now the digital section. Wow, it's sure looking sad without any of the electronics in there. I've removed the digital rack so I can have access to the underside of the motherboard. Alright, let's see what secrets are hidden behind this cover. You get some big beefy inductors. It's glued on there. Sure thing. Bunch more. And yeah, it's a rat's nest. So. Well, that is, you know, a few wires. Alrighty. Ooh, that was quite the job. But look how neat this is now. And I can actually see what's what. I do realize now that I have done all the hard work of removing all the electronics. And I'm just left with bare framework. This is an opportune moment to finish the case so that when the electronics finally go back in there and I do everything, they have a nice, cozy, pretty, clean home to sit in. Right, I have never done this before, so this will be interesting. Put a little bit on there. And just, let's see, over there. Yeah, looks like that will work. Right, just gonna let it dry, then it can be sanded. Okay, I think this stuff is pretty old. I did buy it secondhand in the thrift store. So it's very messy because it was already quite hardened in the tube. So I think I might need to get a new one. So I can actually properly do this groove on both sides. It'd be nice if this was nice level, you know? Right, I've done some basic painting of the inside. Figured I might as well. So that the wood is a little bit more protected. Right, I've done some experimentation with this mahogany wood filler. And it's kinda pinkish. Like, I don't think that will work. Of course, you need to sand and lacquer it, and that will darken it up, but I'm not sure. I'm gonna need to sand this a little bit further. Okay. Paint time. Yeah. Right, so I thought I had sanded this well, but you can see there's still some spots. I don't know if you can see this here, but yeah, these sides aren't great. So I'm gonna have to sand that a little bit more aggressively. Right. Does it look smooth for you? Progress. And this side too. Right. So I'm using a cleaning brush that I wipe over some wet paint here to create wood grain. And it seems to work. It's a bit of a harebrained idea, this, but that's how I roll. So I tried adding some lighter colors kind of to mimic this, but it wasn't really working out, and so I tried to gently wet sanding it, waiting it for to dry now. There is some yellow in the grain now. Okay, I did a little test. Just got a big brush and with some wet paint. The paint has to be a lot redder than you think it would be. So this is the color I'm going for now. It's actually kind of orange, and that looks like this, as you can see. So I can get a and just very aggressive brushing, just really pushing the brush in there and just going back and forth in slow motions, and you get these grains basically. This one is a little bit too strong over here. Oops, that's quite intense. I don't know about you, but I think this is actually working. This is looking increasingly woody, and it's actually looking quite close to, well, it's supposed to be a little bit darker than this, but yeah. And always doing it in one direction, like all the painting only in one direction, everything you do. And then you get the nice grain. So, wow. I'm genuinely surprised. Now I just need to do the rest of it. Well, I think this is working. What I'm doing now is I paint a layer, and then immediately I use this brush to like grind out the grain. And I get way more definition that way. And yeah, it's pretty red, but that's pretty close to mahogany, so it actually looks pretty close to the original. Yeah. Varnishing. And I'm done with this for now. So I'm gonna wrap up the video here because this has been in the making for like 4 months. And I think it's quite enough now. Still gotta paint this, but I'll go for the next episode. So yeah, next episode, modifying the keyboard controller and more painting. Yep.